Oh, that's some good tea. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Here we are. This is Midweek Madness. So, for today's topic on Midweek Madness, I want to talk about something something that isn't really talked about, and I'm not sure how you would teach this either. It's a concept that is worth mulling over and sort of like steeping in, like tea. Oh, nice. I will admit the first time I tried to record this video, I just ranted for like 25 minutes and it didn't make sense. So then I wrote it down in a little journal thing. And now I'm going to follow my notes so that I can stay focused. What I want to talk to you guys about today is something that I'm going to call grit. And there have been books written about it. There's actually a book called Grit. It's pretty good. I would encourage you guys to read it at some point if you get the chance. If a certain audio company wants to sponsor me, I would probably give them a shout out right now, but they didn't sponsor me. They haven't yet. And so I'm not gonna do it. The true definition of grit, when you look it up on the internet, is strength and courage, strength and resolve, courage and resolve, strength of character. Okay. That's it's pretty good summation of what grit is. But there, like most definitions, you lose the meat and potatoes of it, right? So I'm going to outline for you guys a little bit of my life and experience, and I'll sum it up with some context so that you can get a better idea of what I'm trying to say. The first thing I'm going to bring up in context First thing I'm going to bring up contextually about grit is if you really burrow into the history of school, and I mean like hundreds of years ago school, the idea of school was to learn how to think. And I think these days school doesn't do a good job of teaching students how to think. They teach them what to think. And what I mean by that is you learn some biology facts and then you regurgitate them onto a test and then you get an A. And that's fine. I'm a huge advocate of education in school. I don't want you to think that I'm telling you don't go to school, or if you're in it now, you're dumb and blah, blah. That's not what I'm saying. With the knowledge that comes with regurgitating that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, you need wisdom to come alongside that knowledge to give it context and to shape it into something that's functional and valuable. At least when I went through school, I was a really good regurgitator. I graduated high school, I think top 25 of my class of 450 or something. The point of that to say is I was good at regurgitating, and I thought that was the same thing as being good at other things. And so high school was a breeze for me, but I get to college. I didn't do well in college. I had the capability to be smart, right? But I lacked grit at the time. Once I got out of college, that's where I started to see what that looked like. I worked some odd jobs, and I noticed that, yes, while I might be more educated than people around me, there were some people that just worked harder and they had like this tough mindset. It was like an X factor that I couldn't put a name on. It wasn't until I saw what grit looked like that I started to really see how valuable that is as a trait. I started working in a manufacturing plant, and I worked there for a year, and I worked my butt off. And I felt like at the time, and even looking back now, I had more grit then than I had in college. Eventually, I saw that if I think critically and I can communicate my thinking to other people better, it's not only better for them, but it's better for me as well. And that's what started happening. I realized that the managers and the employees that were the best were those that had grit. And that meant working through and struggling through the trials that occurred. One of the things I'm disappointed about in school is I feel like a lot of times it teaches you what to think and not how to think. Because if you can learn to think critically, you're able to better travel through life without waiting for someone to give you the answer. So once I got into management, my education helped. Just to give you guys some background of my schooling so that you know I'm an advocate for schooling. I have a bachelor's degree with honors in psychology with a double minor in applied statistics and biology. I started a double associates in digital security and computer information systems, and I have an executive certificate of supply chain management. And so my educational background is varied, but one of the cool things about that is it gives you a broader perspective on the world. And it also helps you think about different problems in ways that others may not. And so here's an example. When I was in college for my bachelor's degree, for my applied statistics minor, I had to take a statistical programming course. Now, at the time, my experience with computers was, writing papers on Word and Facebook and whatever. When I had to learn how to code, I sucked at it. And if I didn't have a friend of mine from high school who saved my butt in that class, if she hadn't helped me, I wouldn't have made it through that class. And so, Katie, if you're watching, you knew at the time, and I'm sure you know now, that you saved my butt in that class, but I want to thank you anyway. And so once I got into once I got into the job market, I had my education, I had my degree, and the way that I was told growing up is if you have a degree, I mean, you're all set. And it did help, but to my shock, the company I was working for at the time, they said, well, we like your education. We see that, you're a driven young man, but we want to see like some technical background. So I went back to school and started working on the double associate's degree in digital security, which is, like, so I went back to school to work on the dual associate's degree in digital security and computer information systems, which is a bunch of programming. It's a bunch of programming. And what I found is that this time around, because I had had some experience and I had grown a bit in my grit factor, as I'll call it, the class was still hard, but I was in the right frame of mind to tackle that it was going to be hard and I was going to have to work hard at it. And that really helped. And that translated well into my growth into management and my continued growth really as a human being. What I realized is that grit is one of, if not the most important factor in confines to dealing with trouble that arises. Because if you think about it, we all want like the rainbows and daisies life, but that's not real, right? Like you're going to encounter trials and tribulations and trouble, and you're going to encounter malice. You're going to encounter difficult things in life. You essentially have two ways that you can handle those once those trials and tribulations rear their head. And the one is to take it on the chin and you say, man, I was hit. This sucks. There's nothing I can do. I wish it hadn't happened to me. Or you can look at the trials and tribulations of your life and you can retool those and say, essentially, I will not let these trials and tribulations define me, and I won't let them hold me back and keep me down. And so really learning grit in context to Midweek Madness this week is just about pursuing skills that I didn't have and pushing through trials, knowing that I can solve it, I can do it. One of the things that school doesn't do a good job with, in my opinion, is teaching you how to be independent and self-reliant. And I think it used to be that way, but I just think, well, I don't know. I'm just some dude on the internet. So more people need to hear some real truth. So in confines to grit, when I was looking at quitting my job, for the longest time I thought, well, it's never going to happen. I can't, what'll happen if I don't have stable income? What'll happen if I don't have medical insurance? I mean, just like list off the concerns. And those are valid things. Absolutely, they are valid things. But then I started to realize, like, I have the opportunity, the ability, and the tools at hand to make this real. And so I started looking at the details. I started looking at, like, my budget. How long, if I quit my job today, how long can I make it without income before I have to go back and get a job? I'm looking at, like, tools. What do I currently have and what do I need to be successful? I'm looking at support. Who are the people around me that can help? And in my case, I had and still have a ton. A lot of you guys ask how I'm able to do this every week. And I can tell you, if I didn't have the team of friends around me that are way better than me at everything than I am, I wouldn't be able to do this. And so I'm looking at all those factors. I'm looking at budget, I'm looking at tools, I'm looking at the team that I have. And then you got to ask the question, can I make it work? Is it feasible, right? Because a lot of times goals and dreams that we have and want, they're good things, but is it feasible? Can it work? Is it sustainable? One of the things that I constantly think about is something my dad said to me 10 years ago or longer when Seraphim started to really get serious. And he said, the world is full of talented individuals that you will never hear of. And the point of him saying that was, there's a lot of talented musicians out there, but a lot of them don't have the capacity for the logistics and the details that can support their beautiful gift so that more people can appreciate it. And man, that's something I think about often. And so thanks for that wisdom, Dad. I appreciate it. And he's right. He's absolutely right. And so after looking at all those things, I decided that I had the budget because I saved. I worked my butt off and saved for it. I had the tools at hand that I had collected over several years. I mean, all this stuff you see behind me, I didn't buy when I quit my job. I bought this stuff piecemeal, you know. And I looked at the team of people around me, and I had so much support. And if I didn't have that support, I don't think I'd be here right now. And it's not just like, you know, people that write music or, you know, mixing and mastering or design work or videography or everything else, all the different ways. But it was people saying, in a way, they were giving me grit in a way, because they'd say, you can do it. You have what it takes to do X, Y, or Z. And so I made the jump 6 months ago, and I'm bummed it took me this long to do it, but at the same token, real life happens, right? Life costs money. Life is hard. While I would have loved to be at the position I am now 10 years ago, logistically speaking, it wasn't feasible. And so I guess, long story short, I'm so thankful for you guys that watch my content, that comment, that like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Those of you guys and gals that bought merch, thank you so much, man. Every time I see an order come in, it's just, I'm so appreciative. It's overwhelming to think that people value the content that I make enough to buy merchandise. And I just appreciate it. It's awesome. What I want to do with ending this video is to give you guys an exhortation. The definition of exhortation is something like, hold on, I had it up here. Hold on. An address or communication emphatically urging someone to do something. Okay. So I want to give you guys an exhortation. And what I mean by that is I'm going to speak truth to you as a way to encourage you. Because I think there's a lot of influencers out there that say, like, the cotton candy stuff, like, you're valuable, you're worth it, you can do whatever you want. And they're right, but I think they're missing a piece. And the exhortation I'm going to give you is that you have the capacity for more strength than you give yourself credit for. There's a lot of forces out there in the world that want to make sure that you feel worthless, powerless, and ineffective. You are much more capable than you know. And so I want to give you a little boost of positivity today. And not in like the cotton candy fluff way, but in the like meat and potatoes way. You'll have to plan. You'll have to be smart. You'll have to have grit to work through. And when trials and tribulations and malice rear their ugly heads, you can handle them but you have to have courage. There's the word in Japanese, ganbatte, that we don't quite have that in English, and it's a bummer because it's a great word. Kind of like kitsurugi, but that's different video for another time. But the point is, with ganbatte, it roughly translates, and I'm not looking this up, I'm just contextually off of what I've heard. Do your best, have courage, push through. You know, it's that kind of a thing. That is another sort of exhortation, right? And like a lot of words that we say in our day-to-day, it's easy to kind of say some of these things and not think about what they mean, but I want you to hear me when I say ganbatte. So I'll close this week. So I'll close this week's oh my gosh, dude. So I'll close this week's midweek madness out by saying ganbatte. You can do it. Thank you for watching. I hope you like, share, subscribe, all that other good stuff. If you're looking for a sick sweatshirt or t-shirt or some Seraphim merch or whatever, links are in the description down below. And I'll see you guys Friday. See ya.